Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. The Sole Occupant Theory, written by JCB 112. It was only once certain levels of civilized development had been reached that utopia could be achieved. It was known that, as a rule, contemporary utopian civilizations emerged from but a single species per galaxy, a single government ruling over a single people. It was likewise known that, as a rule, contemporary utopian civilizations were nominally the sole spacefaring race of their respective galaxies, the rest of the galaxy being either completely lifeless, hosting non-sapient life, or perhaps even sapient life that had merely lacked the technological sophistication of their contemporary spacefaring capabilities, thus rendering them null point in this rule. These sets of factors are collectively known as the sole occupancy variables, vital in the construction of the sole occupancy principle. The aforementioned principle being the instigating factor behind the rise of contemporary utopian civilizations. It remains the most effective means of self-regulation, a natural and ethically neutral means to allow for the growth and maturity of that particular civilization in situ. It was this self-regulation that had resulted in the self-destruction of most sole occupants, the ratio of failure to success averaging out at approximately 1,000 to 1. Yet, it was through this self-regulation that true utopias emerged. For if civilization does indeed fail along the path to utopia, they failed not by any outside intervention, but by their own self-determination. This is a necessary self-regulating system. It prevents undesirables from polluting what was so quickly became contemporaries in utopia in all but name. It prevents the evil, the malicious, the cunning, and the instinctively driven killers from truly moving beyond their home galaxies. It does this without the intervention from the greater intergalactic community. It reinforces the known that those that survive this era have earned their seat amongst the stars. This has been the status quo for the past 250,000 years. This has been how things have been and how things will be forever. True peace exists amongst all races, a peace that has never been shattered or threatened or subverted until recently. For this galactic megacluster that we had assumed was home to only ourselves was in fact home to an entity that stood against the very fundamental principles of our founding charter. This aberration, this threat, calls itself the Greater Intergalactic Treaty Organization, founded and led by the greatest deviant amongst their ranks, humanity. Humanity, like most of the contemporaries within this aberrant entity, had arisen not as a sole occupant, but as one amidst many. They had arisen from a galaxy packed to the brim with native FTL-capable civilizations. Yet, despite this, they had emerged as a sole occupant. The mechanisms behind this aberrancy are still unknown to us. Indeed, humanity have consistently refused our efforts in prying deeper into this matter. Regardless, whatever it may be, it defies common conversations. Mixed occupancy principle states that a galaxy with more than one sole FTL-capable occupant is doomed to failure. It is a principle seen in action across the sample size of at least 100 galaxies over the time scale of 250,000 years. Yet here stands humanity. Here stands the Greater Intergalactic Treaty Organization. Here stands a group of 10 perfectly functional, competent, civilized utopian contemporaries, each born from mixed occupant galaxies, all standing in complete defiance of the universally observed conventions of civilized development and 250,000 years of data. Their mere existence poses an existential threat to the foundations of our grand conclave. Yet we are not creatures of war. We are not creatures of irrationality. Fear exists within us, yes. It has the capabilities to overwhelm and overpower us, true. But 200,000 years of existence has taught us to put reason before doctrine. This unique revelation may perhaps be the greatest test of these teachings. Diplomacy with Greater Intergalactic Treaty Organization has been cordial. Their existence is jarring, but their willingness to cooperate upon first contact brought hope to the galactic supercluster. Indeed, their demonstrations of genuine utopian principles had impressed the Conclave into considering the revision of the age-old sole occupant principle, perhaps amending it just for the sake of the Gitu's ranks. 10 unique outliers that was in fact statistically possible when taking into account the immense timescales for data collection. Yet the peace that was formed was predicted and inferred notion that both parties would respect the age-old universal constants, that utopian societies of intergalactic capabilities shall not interfere with those still undertaking their great self-regulatory tests, that utopian societies would remain ambivalent and ignore to the plights of those still unable to reach utopian levels of technological and societal sophistication. The members of Gitu seemed uneasy at this notion, stating that moral imperatives outweighed age-old tenets. Yet I ask, what moral imperatives? By inserting one's own moralities into the affairs of another, it brings about no end to interference. By saving a life, you have set the precedence of saving a quadrillion more. By casting judgment on a civilization, you set the precedence of casting judgment on 1,000 more. By declaring moral imperative, you declare an endless war, an endless crusade. Such efforts are fruitless, and logically speaking, should die before they are given the chance to even sprout seedlings. The Gitu remained silent on the nature of their respective origins upon the burgeoning agreement of the principles, in order to maintain the intergalactic peace. We likewise refused to pry into their respective origins, accepting that it was now irrelevant given their utopian and reasonable standing alongside us as contemporaries. With this understanding, peace had been maintained for the past 20,000 years, but I fear that their recent actions have compromised everything we have built. The Cerulean incident, their interference in the active prevention of a mixed occupant race from attaining intergalactic status has sent shockwaves of internal discussion amongst the Conclave. They claim moral and ethical justifications into the prevention of the Ceruleans from entering intergalactic space. Yet, their actions as preferential evacuation of certain non-Ceruleans from their galaxy has proven that this explanation lacks depth to explain their actions. They have sent us a detailed breakdown of the Ceruleans' many reprehensible actions within their home galaxy in order to obtain the sole occupant status. They mention of crimes against sapiency, of the genetic alteration and enslavements of 1,000 unique species. They mention the dogmatic approach to an insidious war of conquest that has led to the Ceruleans' near sole occupant status. They maintain the constant humiliating and degrading actions committed through genetic manipulation of their inducted species, artificially restricting sapience, inducing states of ferality for arenas of combat and entertainment, blanketing cities and worlds in sapient colonies of tissue and flesh. And yet, I must ask, humanity, what of your galaxy? What actions were committed to transition you from state of mixed occupancy to a state of sole occupancy? If the Ceruleans simply wished to transition from a similar state of mixed occupancy to a sole occupancy, then a systematic breakdown of humanity's rise to utopia must be acknowledged, in order to truly incriminate the Ceruleans, in order to truly show that they are in fact the outliers, and not simply another version of this transition into utopia. The case of humanity's active prevention of the Cerulean race's entry into the intergalactic scene will not be a matter taken lightly. For now, we observe. For now, we determine just how humanity attained sole occupant status from previously mixed occupancy galaxy. For now, humanity's and by extension the Gitu actions against the Cerulean race will determine the course of the intergalactic affairs. We now tread an uneasy path, a path bordering on potential war for the first time in 270,000 years. We do not wish for war. And I know after much discussion with the human envoy that they do not wish for war. So now we must ask, is the price of a single galaxy, risking the status quo of the past 250,000 years plus the conclave, Gitu peace of the past 20,000 years, truly worth it? End of story. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Casper Arnholt, Cam Maxwell, it's difficult to pronounce, Lord Arishikal, Dragzoon WRE, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.